Hello friends, this is Red Unicorn and today we're going to have a quick guide on mountain base mood. Those of you who have played this game before know that mood is very important in Rimworld. If you don't keep your people happy, they're going to have mental breaks. This can range from somebody being a pretty little drama queen and going to hide in their rooms because they ate without a table, to somebody being on a murderous rage trying to kill someone else because, well, I don't know, they slept in the heat or the cold. So there are some basics you have to take into account and some things that are very specific for mountain bases. Let's get into it. To showcase this, I loaded up an old save of mine which was quite advanced. As you can see, everybody is quite happy. I installed the color-coded mood bar mod to help me see at a glance if a person has a problem. The first thing that is the most important thing is if you want to go into the mountain base, you have to pick the right memes in your Ideoligion. So let's check this out. The most important one for mountain bases is the Tunneler Ideoligion. This means that they will not get the mood debuff for being cooped up inside for too long, and it also has some perks that they have better mining yields, then they don't care about small spaces. Yeah, that's the most important thing to bear in mind in your Ideoligion. Darkness might help, but it's not necessary, as are the others. As you can see, if we pick somebody, some random person, the game highlights the bonuses, the mood buffs they get from things to do with their Ideoligion. If you check your Ideoligions and the ones, you can get a lot of mood buffs from that, and you can reduce the debuffs. The next thing, which is very important, is pawn selection. I can showcase this better with this save. This is my newest playthrough. You might check it out on my channel if you want to. If you choose the right pawns, it gets a lot easier to keep them from having a mental break. If we go onto the check the traits, you can see here that Monkey, for example, is very neurotic, which means that he has a mental break threshold of plus 14%. He's going to have mental breaks faster. Dorner here is a depressive. You can see that he actually is having a minor break risk because he's feeling stressed, because he's hurting, because he got beat up by a panther, but that wasn't my fault. Well, it was a little bit my fault. Okay, but anyways, he's depressive, so that means he gets a permanent mood effect of minus 12. He has this minus 12 now. That doesn't go away. That's just who he is. The others are fine. Obviously, I didn't have much choice with those two. I don't care I don't mind very neurotic that much, because it at least has a bonus in that they are working faster. But the depressive I usually try not to pick. I just didn't have, well, the others were even worse. So sometimes you're stuck with those people and you have the best, you have to make the best out of it. But if you can, try to pick people who have none of those negative traits, or even maybe a positive one, like sanguine, for example. What also helps a lot is if other people have positive traits, because if somebody is kind, that means that they can make other people happy. Actually, they never insult people and they brighten the moods of others, which can actually help a lot. There is also the counterpart, which is I do not have this here, but it's abrasive. Abrasive means that they say what they mean and they don't care if they hurt other people's feelings, and that can really mess up those people. Like if they have been insulted, being insulted gives you a huge debuff as well, especially if it happens more than once. It stacks. That is why you should steer clear of those kind of traits if you have a choice. The next thing that plays a role is the schedules. Schedules are, well, not as important if you just have the Tunneler meme, but if you combine it with the Darkness meme, it gets very important because people do not like to go outside into the light. So what you want to do is to switch their schedules to a nightly schedule, like they sleep during the day and in the night they get to work. I'm usually fine with a schedule like this. If somebody is sick or unhappy, I might put anything like here in the middle, so that they have a break between work and they can do whatever they need, like sleep or recreate, and usually that works out fine with me. If you do not have the darkness meme, you might as well turn this around, that they sleep during the day and work during the night. They don't care about darkness as a tunneler either, so that's either way that's going to be fine. Next thing, dining room, rec room. If we pick a random pawn, you can see that they have a total of 12 mood buff from an extremely impressive dining room and extremely impressive rec room. I always combine those two. This is one room for me. This usually works up great. If we click on this table, you can see the room it's in. Rec room, extremely impressive. And if I have my mouse button here, or if I turn this on, you can also you can also see the highlighted room. Everything that's blinking in blue is one big room. For mountain bases that works well. You can see that I do not have any doors in the middle. I still have the walls to have choke points if there's an infestation, which you're going to get in a mountain base, but otherwise no doors. This means that the people sleeping over here, who in the morning when they wake up are too far away from the big table, and if they are hungry they just eat in their room and do not get those mood buffs, those 12 we're talking about. They will walk to this table, eat here, and still get the mood buff from this big room. So the bigger the base gets, the more tables I'm just putting in the hallways, everybody's happy. This is a medium-sized base, obviously you can make this bigger. You have to make sure that you put doors into areas which you have not made pretty, like here it says awful. If I do not put a door here, this counts as well. And during my playthroughs I also noticed that if the room gets too big, it doesn't count as a room anymore. So check regularly if your rec room and dining room still is one room, and if not, you have to put doors in there and maybe make another dining room, but that's only for like really big bases. Obviously for people working outside, like the planters, they still will get the 8 without a table debuff, but that's just something they have to deal with. The next thing on my list are bedrooms. As you can see, if we take this one, I keep it quite small. This is a 5 by 3 room, which if you have the tunneler meme, they are okay with that because they don't care about small spaces. As you can see, this room is slightly impressive. This is enough to keep people happy. Slightly impressive, somewhat impressive, this is usually fine by me. As you can also see, I do not bother with end tables or dressers. For example, the end tables or dressers, if you check under the information, only give you 3 beauty, which really isn't that much. It's not decisive for game. 5 beauty for the dresser, so I really don't bother with those. What I always do is put a statue in the room. It has to be at least normal to make this room pretty, but combined with the smoothed walls and floors, this is enough to get this room to slightly impressive. So if you have a halfway decent artist, get him working on statues. They can be marble, they can be wood. I would recommend one of those two, and that's enough to get the room to the impressiveness, especially if you can see that the floors already have a 2 beauty and the walls 1. This only works for smoothed walls and smooth floors. Otherwise, if I zoom here, you can see that you have a -1 for the floors and a -2 for the walls. Smoothing is a job you want them to do later. Like, even if it's not smooth, the 135 from the statue is going to be enough to put the room into at least a decent range, which is fine for the beginning, because smoothing takes a lot of time, and you also have to keep in mind that smoothing makes the base, smoothed floors and walls make the base more valuable, which means that the attacks you're going to get are going to be larger. But if we pick Burgess here, you can see that they have the slightly impressive bedroom buff of 3, which is totally okay for me. It works. I don't have to have it any better than that. Ninja has a somewhat impressive bedroom. This is 4, so that's one more. I don't bother. I don't like, if I have a normal statue, that's enough for me. I put it in and I'm done with the room, basically. Another thing that is very important for mood is the jobs you assign to people. Like, somebody can have 12, or like here intellectual is 6 at something, and that means they're quite okay. They can even have a very high skill, but if they don't have any passion for this work, you can still make them do it and they're going to do a good job. But look at, for example, Senra here. Senra has a burning passion for cooking. She is cooking right now, and let's check out what this does for her mood. She has a burning passion for her work. That's a plus 14 work. So if you have a miner, for example, in a mountain base who has a burning passion, even if he starts out with a 1 or a 2 or a 3, put him to mining, because he will be happy as long as he's mining. No matter where, no matter what, he's going to be happy. Same if you have like one flame, like Kiki here, who is our artist. She has, she's interested. She has one flame, and even she gets a minor passion for her work. That's an 8 mood buff, which is quite huge. So you want to keep people doing those things they are happy at. Even if you make them do something they're not that good at in the beginning, they will learn faster, and then you're going to have a whole colony of very happy people who are doing exactly what they want to be doing. Next thing that is also helpful if your people are having a tough time for whatever reason is drugs. I personally do not like to pick pawns that are teetotalers, because taking drugs will make them unhappy, and sometimes they just need to. My drug schedule usually looks like the following. They can have beer. They can have 1 beer per day, but only if their mood is below 50. You can make it 42. I just make 50 because sometimes it takes them some time to get to the beer. And so if their mood's below a certain range, they are allowed to have 1 beer. They're also allowed to have a Psychi tea if their mood is below 40, but that only every 2 days. This way I make sure they don't get addicted. You can check the frequency they are allowed to take a drug under the information. It says here safe dose interval 1 day, which means that every 24 hours they can have a beer and not get addicted, for sure. For smoke leaf, for example, it says 2 days, the same as the Psychi tea. It also says 2 days. And then there are some drugs, like for example wake up, which here says it's never safe. So you can get addicted on the first time you take wake up. I usually stick to beer and Psychi tea. Sometimes ambrosia, because I put it on 2 days, because that's safe too and it makes people happy if I have some ambrosia around, but that's very expensive, so I prefer to sell it. But if you don't have any Psychi tea, ambrosia works just as well. I do not like smoke leaf joints because they make people be slower and they don't work that well, so usually I stick to beer, Psychi tea and or ambrosia. Another thing that's not that easy to take care of is the leaders. If you have an Ideoligion, you're going to have to choose a leader, like 1 leader and a moral guide. And for this colony, this is this person, Abrunio, and you can see that she is the strong obscure. That's the one who's able to convert people, which is the moral guide. and later on, like in this playthrough, they get a very hefty Supreme Expectation that it's a minus 12 mood debuff. So if you choose a person for your moral guide, be very careful who you pick. Steer away from people who are by nature depressive or have any other debuffs already. You can pick somebody who's sanguine, that always works well, but you also need somebody with a high social skills. So yeah, for me, she has no traits that make her happy by nature. What I try to do if I have a person like this is I try to get them in a relationship, because that got some loving and the opinion of the husband. That helps to negate those debuffs pretty well. So for me, I try to keep those people in a relationship. If I can manage it at all, I try to keep my leader and my moral guide in one relationship with each other. That usually works out okay. The last thing that can be tricky, especially if you have people with the Thunderlure meme, is traveling. People who do not like to go outside obviously do not like to go traveling. You can try to select pawns who have natural mood buffs, like Sanguine for example, and let them do all the traveling. What I always do is I make a special food restriction for those who are traveling, and in this food restriction I expressly allow them to eat chocolate and insect jelly. Reason for this is that chocolate and insect jelly count as recreation, so you do not get the too long without recreation debuff, and they make people happy when they eat it. It's not the perfect fix, but it helps to keep people more happy while they're traveling. This was my tutorial on Mountain Base Mood. I hope I could help you, and if you liked what you saw, please leave a thumbs up or write something in the comments. I always read those. And if you want to check out more of my Rimworld content, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye!